Welcome to this edition of the WCBS Conversation. I'm Ray Hoffman, host of CEO Radio. We're here in the Adorama Live Theater. My guest is Chris Gardner, author of Pursuit of Happyness, former stockbroker, former trumpet player.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to CEO Radio and welcome to the WCBS Conversation.
Thank you. This is a big deal. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. I'm going to try to get lucky with the first question. In all the interviews you've done, all the question and answer sessions, is there one question that you thought you'd be asked or you expect to be asked and never gets asked?
You know what? That's a good question. And the question that I'm always wondering, why no one asked? The question is, what are you afraid of? No one ever asked that question.
Fabulous question.
And my answer is simple. I'm afraid of disappointing the angel that sits on my shoulder. Right? I've never been asked, what were you afraid of? As a young guy, as a young man who became eventually a single parent, I was always afraid prior to that, as a little boy, that some other man would raise my child. That's a big fear. I mean, for a little boy who never knew his dad and to grow up without a father, right? And for one day to know that somebody might treat your child as you were treated, that's a big fear.
The experience of having a terrible stepfather, as you did, informs everything.
It forms everything, and you know what? I got to tell you something. Honestly, I know it's not popular to talk about these things, but I'm thankful for that experience right now. When I say my prayers, and I do pray, I'm thankful for that experience because I know had I not had that experience, I would not have become the father that I've tried to be to my two children. So I took that pain so that they wouldn't have to.
You survived and your children survived.
Oh man, my children, let me tell you something. All of us as parents, we try to give our children everything that we didn't have as children. What you have to learn is that you're not making them better people, you're just giving them better stuff. And I had to learn that. I mean, my children at one point had this very highly evolved sense of entitlement. I mean, we just got it like this, we always had it like this. They were walking around acting like they're the little chocolate Kennedys. But wait, Ray, I had to break it down for him one day, make sure you understand, whoa. You're not rich, I'm rich.
Exactly.
Right? And all this stuff you see, this is mine, right?
Yeah.
So,
and when you started making it big in Chicago, running your own brokerage firm, Gardner Rich, how old were your children?
My children would have been, I got custody of my children. My son was 6, my daughter was 2, right? So I've been a single parent now for 32 years. And I wear that as a badge of honor. And let me tell you something, I did not know how many other parents wear that badge until I gave the commencement address at the University of California in Berkeley. And I gave a special shout out to all the single parents. I was amazed to find out how many single parents there are in this country. 38% of all the households in America are headed by single parents. So it's a big deal.
And I'm wondering about this in terms of how there are literally millions of people who admire you and have come to love you, largely from billions?
Billions.
Oh, billions.
I've met them all.
Oh, okay. Most of them, of course, came from the movie, which was the way most people were reached by your story. But now you've been going around for how many years speaking?
This is coming up on 10 years. And you know what's so incredible? In December of this year, the film The Pursuit of Happyness would be
10 years old.
10 years old.
Yeah.
What makes it so incredible, Will and I talked about this recently, the film is more relevant today than it was when it came out. Because of the global financial crises, so many people around the world have found themselves in positions they never thought would happen to them. Right?
That's right.
Never thought this would happen to me. I went to school, I worked hard, I played by the rules, boom, the world changes. The film became the first American film ever seen in China. That's 1 billion people right there. That's huge.
Do you look back at your experience there when you first saw a major actor playing you on film? differently today than you did 10 years ago?
I never look back. I don't spend a lot of time looking back because I'm enjoying what I'm looking at right now, which includes you. Okay? I'm like right here, focused on right now, okay? People ask me a lot of times, well, where are you going next? I don't know. All I know is right now, I'm on the west side with Ray in Manhattan.
Yeah.
All right? I'm serious, man. I just came off of one trip. 5 countries, 4 hemispheres, 3 continents, crossed both oceans twice in 10 days. But right now, I'm sitting here talking to you and glad to be here.
It's a little easier than bobbing around on the waves and everything else. Yeah. I'm wondering how many people, do you have any sense of how many people you've really gotten to in your speeches and really reached?
I don't know a number, but I do know this. I just met a young man in Madrid, Spain, who was blind and went blind at 8 years old. And he came up to me and says, I want to share something with you. I was at a critical point in my life where I don't know if I wanted to live anymore. But, quote, I saw your movie. It changed my life. He was a competitive swimmer, goes to Beijing Olympic Games, wins 4 gold medals. Blind. Now, when he's sharing all of this with me, Ray, I had just gotten off a plane. I'm tired. It's like, oh, man.
You're not tired now.
No. Now it's like, this is why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Right? This is why you do it.
I'm going to go back to a little bit of your days as a broker. How long did it take? As we know, you were in the broker trainee program after various numbers of circumstances, and you finally get into the program. How long did it take, once you became a broker, for you to get your finances straightened out and be a normal workaday person again?
That is a very good question, because what happens is, and what's happening right now for a lot of people who were adversely affected by the global financial crises, you'll find out it has affected your whole life. And it's not just a matter of, whoa, okay, I've got a positive amount in the bank account now, so everything else is good. It impacts your whole life, right? Your relationships with your children, and your views on what you're going to do next with your life. I would say, honestly, man, it took me a good 3 years. But what happened for me was simple. Number one, I had the opportunity to do something that I loved. And number 1A, I got a chance to go to work at a little company called Bear Stearns. And I got to tell you, man, I would not trade anything in the world for that experience. To have had the opportunity to work for guys like Ace Greenberg, Alvin Einbinder, names that you wouldn't know, Marshall Geller, names that nobody would know, Gary Shimano, some
Ace
of the
Greenberg,
big, man. You know, one of the things that I'm so glad I had a chance to do, about 3 years ago, I had a chance to go see Ace. Ace, at this time, would have been 90, 91 years old. He still went to work every day. He sat at his desk every day. And I had a chance to go and say to him, Ace, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work at this firm, because nobody got more out of it than I did. And you know what Ace said to me? Ace was as sentimental as a sledgehammer. He looks at me and says, Chris, get out of my office before I fire you again.
He didn't fire you the first time, though, did he?
Oh, man, I will never forget the first time I got fired by Ace.
Oh, you did?
Oh, man, I got fired by Ace Greenberg. I got his permission to cover this one account. And he says to me, Chris, I want to hear from you every week. I want to know how you're doing. Takes me 2 weeks, and I call him up. Ace, I did it. I got this guy. I just wrote a commission for $25,000, and there's no words at all. And he says to me, Chris Gardner, you've been talking to this guy for 2 weeks, and all you got is $25,000. You're fired. Dude, and when you got fired by Ace, there was no appeal. That's like getting fired by God.
Exactly.
It's over. He thought that was so funny.
Yeah, well, sure, he was Ace Greenberg.
Right. He thought that was so funny. But I have to tell you this, and it hurts me to my heart to see what happened to that firm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like watching the house you grew up in burn, and there was nothing you could do about it. The CEO lost $1 billion. Some other investor lost $1 billion. So what? What about the people who lost everything? What about the people who worked at that company 25, 30 years, had that stock put away, thinking they got their retirement taken care of, and wake up one day and it's gone? What about those people? There's going to be a cost here in human capital that's incalculable.
Yeah, I look back at those days when those people were walking out of the office, that one day suddenly they realized their house had collapsed around them.
You know what, man? Let me tell you something. I will never forget. My second book, Start Where You Are, was born on a subway. I'm down on Wall Street. I'm working the street, but I was living at this point in my office in Midtown. I'm down on Wall Street, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Ray, I get on the subway. That train should be empty, but on this day, the train was jam-packed. And you look around and you notice everybody's got that box.
Yeah.
Now, you know that box I'm talking about.
The box.
That box. You got your degrees, your pictures of your kids, your coffee mug, everything that's yours with you in this box, and you're ready to go home and tell your wife or your husband and the bank you no longer have a job. My second book was born on the train that day because I started talking to a young guy and I realized what's happening. He told me this was the first wave of tens of thousands of people who lost their jobs at Citibank. We talked, and I talk a little bit louder. What I stressed to him is, you lost your job, but you have not lost your skills, your talent, or your expertise. Skills, talent, and expertise are transferable. All we got to do now is find some place to transfer those things to that you're passionate about. I hear from the guy a year later, and he says to me, some of my colleagues and I heard what you said on the train today, and we figured out if we put together what was left of our 401ks, we could start our own firm. We started our own firm, and the first customer we got was Citibank. Huh? That's called being agile. That's agility. That's agility. Skills, talent, and expertise, sir.
Yeah.
Transferable.
Yeah, wonderful dancing.
Yeah, you got to be agile.
Yeah, absolutely. Now take me through the moment you decided that you wanted to work for yourself, when you wanted to create your own firm, and how easy and how difficult was it?
Oh, man, come on. All right, I'm leaving Bear Stearns in '86. The firm had just gone public. Everybody got some stock. My dream, ultimately, the dream I had and a lot of other young guys had, was to one day become a limited partner in Bear Stearns. I could have died and gone to heaven right there.
Sure thing.
But now the company is a publicly held company. That's never going to happen, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
Number 1A, I saw some opportunities that no one else that I worked for saw. You got to make a decision. You can't serve two masters. You got to do one or the other. And I say, I believe in this opportunity, and I'm going for it.
Well, what'd you see?
I saw a space where there was no coverage. I saw a space, I saw some assets that no one was talking to. Nobody believed that there was any money in this particular space. So I started building these relationships, and I've convinced myself enough, if I did nothing but this, I could really build something. I go to my old boss, and I explain to him what I'm going to do, and he looks at me and says, are you crazy? Are you crazy? You're going to leave Bear Stearns to start your own firm. Quote, there's no black guys owning a firm on Wall Street. You know what crazy is? Crazy is I got a higher price per share for the stock I sold in Bear Stearns to start my own company in 1986 than they got when they did the deal with JP Morgan.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And all those guys went down with the ship. That's crazy. But I saw an opportunity, Ray, and I have to tell you, man, would I do it again? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ray. We were talking earlier about options trading. Okay, I had traded options off the floor. I had never traded on the floor. One of the first things I learned from Ace Greenberg, invest your money after you invest your time. Invest your time first. I moved to Chicago. You're going to trade options, you got to be in Chicago. Okay?
Yes.
Options, commodities, futures, you got to be in Chicago. I was 33 years old. I left Bear making nice money. I took a job as a runner at 33 years old on the floor of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. I got to get a feel, Ray.
Right.
I'm not just going in here. I got to get a feel. How does this really work down here? My very first day in business, October 19th, 1987.
How'd you manage that?
Oh, man, Ray. I'm in the OEX pit. Now, some people out there listening, they're probably kind of young, and they're like, what happened? That was the day the stock market crashed 508 points.
Yeah,
that was a 23% drop. At that time, that was huge.
Yeah.
My very first day, and I'm seeing guys who were smarter than me, more experienced, and better capitalized, getting carried off on stretchers. And I knew, I don't want to trade my own account anymore. I don't even want to think about trading for my own account. I'm going to go to work as a broker and help other people risk their money. That's being agile.
Yes.
That's agility.
You
right?
know, and working as a runner, you got a chance to watch those old foxes, those traders that just know both sides of the trade and just cut you up each side.
Let me tell you something. A guy named Sandy Weil,
Yeah, he's an old fox, too.
he started as a runner.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You want to get to the top, start at the bottom. Works every time.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take to build the firm then?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. It kept evolving, it kept changing because at one point in time, I'm going to tell you exactly how this happened for me. Early 1990s, more and more African Americans, women, and Latinos started showing up on public pension fund boards. The truth of the matter is, very honestly, it used to be, you go in the room, there's 12 white guys.
Sure.
That was it. But as the unions who had money in these funds started putting trustees on the funds that looked like the unions.
CalPERS and stuff.
Absolutely. So what I did was I started building relationships with those trustees based on education. My guys were truck drivers, firemen, teachers, policemen, but now they're sitting on this board that controls 40, 50, 100 billion dollars. And they did not know the difference between a stock and the bond. I had to help educate them. And in the process of helping to educate them, I created these relationships. And in the process of managing these relationships, I got to know when things were going to happen at the funds and what they were looking at and what the concerns were and, you know, what's it going to take to get this business done. And I got pretty good.
I get it that much.
We'll talk about that offline. Yeah. I got pretty good. But you know what I was doing, Ray, was I wasn't just helping myself build a business. I was helping these people to serve the employees that they represented. That was a big deal.
Building a life.
That was a big deal.
Building many lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've been in the speech presentation industry now for about 10 years or so. What have you learned that you didn't expect to learn about that business?
Whoa, man, let me tell you something. People listen differently now. Okay, starting about 3 or 4 years ago, you would go and you talk and people would sit there and they'd listen. And you could get a sense of, are they feeling you? Are you making your points? Are you connecting? You know how people listen now? Like this. They got that device, that phone, and you are on stage and it's live. You make one mistake, and it's potentially going all around the world. When you walk on that stage, you got to own that room. You got to be prepared. It's no different than making a presentation to a pension fund. Right? You got to own that room when you walk in there. There's an energy you got to bring. And the truth of the matter is, actors couldn't do it. Right? Will Smith, dear friend, love him, But you can see a guy like a Will or a Tom Cruise or whoever it is, they'll do a scene 8, 9, 10 times until they're happy with how they've done it. You walk on the stage, it's live. You got one take. Yeah. And Ray, there's nobody on that stage but you. Now that is what gets me excited. It's no different than a fighter climbing in a ring for a championship fight. Nobody's on the stage but you. You got to own it.
Is there one person who's come up to you after one of those appearances with a story that's more compelling than any other, the one that just touches you the most?
St. Louis, Missouri, Washington University. Woman comes up to me and basically says, I lost my business, I lost my house, my husband left me, I was going to commit suicide, but I went to see your movie. I shared that with Will Smith, and you know what he said to me? That's the first time I ever saved anybody's life for real. That's a big deal, Ray.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, to cross that line.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right? And to be given this opportunity, to be put in this position, it keeps you humble.
Now, AT&T has brought you in to speak at the Small Business Expo at the Javits Center tomorrow.
Tomorrow. You're going to be there, right?
I want to be there.
Well, you're invited. You're coming with me.
All right, then I'm there. That means I won't be trading in the afternoon, though.
Good.
This man is going to cure me of options trading.
Yeah, man, we're tremendously excited about what we're doing at AT&T, with AT&T. This whole idea of empowering small business owners and entrepreneurs, rebooting the American dream and what can be done. And what does it take? Ray, what does it take to build a business and to build a life? It takes agility.
Yeah, you're
right?
asking two different things. Build a business and build a life.
They're two different things.
Yeah.
That takes agility. You got to be able to wear more than one hat in business. Okay? We just left an interesting guy on the west side, comes to America from the Dominican Republic with $20 in his pocket, but today he owns 5 restaurants. Started as a busboy. And he tells you the story of, well, if the bartender doesn't come in, I got to be the bartender. If the hostess doesn't come in, I got to be the hostess. I might have to bust the tables. I might have to help wash the dishes, and then when the place closes, I got to clean it up. But I'm doing what I want to do with my life, and I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so many entrepreneurs are so happy even when they're struggling at it because they know that they're doing what they really need to do.
Struggle's going to happen. You know what the real struggle is? The real struggle is going to work in an office with people you don't like. Oh my God. I saw a study that says that 80% of all heart attacks happen at 8 o'clock on Monday morning.
What's that tell you?
Dude, that's my heart. I told you I don't want to go in there. I don't want to be around those people. But to be in a position, if someone comes to me, Ray, and says, Chris, I want to be a billionaire, I got to say, I can't help you with that. I've never done it. If you come to me and say, I want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I can't help you with that. I've never done it. But if you come to me and say, I want to do something that I love, I'm going to become world class at it, and I want to work for myself, I've done that. And that's what we're going to talk about at the Small Business Expo, and that's why you got to be there.
Well, then I'm there.
Done. And no trading tomorrow. Tomorrow's a no trade day.
Not even at the open?
No trade day. Tomorrow's what?
Friday.
Tomorrow is Thursday.
Oh.
You're rushing it. See? You trading options don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, you see? I closed one trade jumping this afternoon from the Express to the local on the platform at 14th Street.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You're trading options on the subway.
Yeah.
What happens that one time you put that trade on and you can't execute it? Yeah. Or you can't get out?
I lose everything. I mean, everything in that position, yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you before, Ray?
Well, only on occasion. Now, I want to change the subject because it's becoming about me. And I want to change the subject to something I love as much as you, or proportionally anyway. Music. Tell me about your trumpet. Tell me about how come you didn't become Miles Davis.
I did not become Miles Davis because it was my mother who pointed out to me, son, there's only one Miles Davis and he's got that job, right? And when your mom puts it to you like that, you got to feel that. And I had to look at the facts. The facts were, at 18 years of age, Miles Davis was in New York City playing with Quincy Jones and Dizzy Gillespie. At the same age, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, playing with some boys named Pookie and Ray Ray. It wasn't going to happen. But you know what? I made the decision. I cannot become Miles, but I can become like Miles. Meaning, I can become world class at whatever I decided to do with my life. Not good at it, not pretty good at it, but world class at it. And I'll never forget, it was about this time, Ray, I heard Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak one night. He was speaking to a group of municipal employees down in Memphis, Tennessee, the night before he was assassinated. And what he said to those people was, if you're going to be a garbage man, you should seek to become the best garbage man. And I remember thinking, world class.
At whatever it is.
At whatever it is I'm doing with my life.
Yeah. And that's why you don't pick up the trumpet?
I am afraid if I ever touched another trumpet, I would walk away from everything else that I'm doing right now. I loved it that much. It's addictive. I loved it that much. Everything else will become secondary.
Even making speeches?
But you know what? I will tell you this. No one's ever really asked me this. I don't own a trumpet, but I still got my old mouthpiece.
So you're doing the little...
7C. Same one Miles used. 7C. I still got it. You never know.
Oh, but you aren't going around the house like doing your little...
I just know where it is. I know where it is, all right?
I want to ask you one more question. You were very close to your mother, as was I, very close to mine, so I understand where you're coming from. If she were in the audience tomorrow at the Small Business Expo, and there were a microphone over there, and she came over and stood at the microphone to ask you a question, what do you think she'd ask you?
Man, I don't know what she would ask, but I know what she would say. She would say, boy, you on such a roll, you need some butter. Man, my mother was a country girl from Louisiana. And you know what, man, I have to tell you this real quick. I remember you get to the point, Ray, where you say, okay, you know what, Mom, you got the house, okay? Everything's taken care of, and you don't have to worry about anything. Let's go have some fun. Let's go shopping, okay? Just me and you. Take my mom to Gucci, and you know how they have the prices on the bottoms of the shoes? My mom picks up this one shoe. She looks at the bottom. She says, "Ooh, son, that's $5,000. Is that for one shoe, or do you get two of them?" And then she says, "No, son, Mama just takes some cash." Man, you know, for you to ask me about my mom, I have to tell you, she's been, I don't say she passed away, I say she moved to heaven 22 years ago, and I still talk to her every day. That's never going to change.
She earned that.
Oh, man, that's never going to change.
Yeah. Continued success and continued good work, Chris Gardner.
Man, thank you, thank you.
I'll be there tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And WCBS, appreciate it, bro. God bless.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for joining us here at the Adorama Theater for the latest installment of the WCBS Conversation. You can hear my CEO Radio reports, and I think you should, at CEO Radio, or rather, that's not the website, it's cbsnewyork.com/CEO Radio, or online 4 times a day on WCBS
that's because
News
you've been
Radio.
too many options. Leave them options alone.
After all, they're listed.
Ooh. What are you long, Ray? What are you long right now? What do you like?
Oh, right now, Visa and Allergan, and I got a bunch of positions in Allergan going out to September. Am I supposed to be talking about this? Thank you very much for joining us.